Miss Pickles by Sunshine Dreaming. My father and I sat in silence at the kitchen table, his fork clinking against the plate as he ate. "Where's your mother tonight?" I gave him a hard stare. "Stepmother? Who knows?" My mother's death left a void in our family that my father and I struggled to fill. We just don't know how to relate to each other without her. Of course, Aunt Susan hadn't made things any easier. My mother's body was barely cold in the ground when her sisters started sniffing around. With one eye on his land and the other on his money, she had charmed her way right into my father's heart and his bed. I'd been furious when he'd married her within the year. He may have been fooled, but I wasn't. I saw her for what she really was. Still, I acknowledged Dad had his own reasons for marrying her. For one thing, Aunt Susan was beautiful. She was younger, thinner, and prettier than Mom had ever been. Mom had been lovely in her own way, but farm life had left her rough around the edges. Aunt Susan was young, with milky skin and baby blue eyes. But Susan's beauty hid a sour disposition. She was prone to mood swings and violent jealousies over the simplest of glances. Eventually, he realized his mistake, but by then it was too late. Susan barely took notice of me. When she did, she went out of her way to turn a simple task into a cruel joke. This week, she demanded I slaughter Miss Pickles. True, we typically slaughtered a pig this time of year. And yes, I had done it before. The problem was that Miss Pickles wasn't just any pig. She was my pig. I won first place with her at the county fair. I felt like I only had one option. I had to kill her. The slaughter went about as well as expected. It's always unpleasant business. I knocked her unconscious with a shovel and chained her up. She was heavier than I expected. I wasted no time slitting her throat. Her blood sprayed all over me, coating my apron and pooling on the floor. After she bled out, I made the initial cuts down the center and across the groin, carefully removing the intestines so they didn't rupture. On the inside, everyone looks the same. She was no different than any of the other animals we'd slaughtered over the years. "Are you sure she didn't say where she was going?" Dad's question snapped me back to the table. I thought of all those cuts of meat sitting in the freezer. "I don't think she's coming to dinner." Outside, Miss Pickles squealed happily as she rooted in the trough with the other pigs. Their teeth gnashed on hard gristle. That's the thing about pigs. They'll eat anything. Even Aunt Susan. Teenagers by Random Claude. "But I don't want to," I shout. I didn't mean to raise my voice, but I was just so angry. "I don't yell at you, so don't yell at me, young man." My stepmom lies. This is not up for debate. She has always been ridiculous with her demands, but this is a new level. It isn't even a demand, it's a statement. There's nothing I can do, and hardly anything I can say. "Please, just listen." "No, my choice is final." "It isn't your choice. I'm supposed to consent to it. I'm the adult here. You don't get to make these decisions. Your brain isn't fully developed." "I'm 16. I think I'm old enough to know whether I want to live." "Don't be selfish. Think of all the starving children. Think of what a difference you'll make." as if she ever cared about any children. Pretending she only wants to do good is just typical, really. My death wouldn't mean much of anything to anyone but her. She loves preaching on and on about the importance of population control, sounding like one of those old government PSAs from the 2070s. You only want me to do this because you'll get paid. I tell it like it is. Lies, lies, lies. I'm only getting 3/4 of the pay so that they'll sedate you first. Nice and painless. See? If I can be selfless, so can you. Comparing my life to a couple $100 aside, I hope that comment doesn't mean what I think it does. You already made the appointment? Yes, she said calmly. It's today at 4. We'll leave for the clinic in a few hours. No more arguing before then, or I'll cancel the sedatives. The clinic. Way back when the population crisis hit its peak, they built those things everywhere. Voluntary euthanasia was sold as the best, most honorable thing to do. The population plummeted back to stability. Nearly 3 decades later, the clinics are still around. And for whatever reason, the cash rewards are still up. My stepmom loves that clinic. She fawns over it every time we pass by. It's where her husband, my dad, gave up his life. My older stepsister did the same, only a year back. But at least then she was 18. Euthanizing minors only technically requires the consent of a legal guardian, not that of the child. What bullshit. Don't look so mad, she chimes in after a few uncomfortable seconds. And don't cry. That won't help anything. Tears in my eyes, I storm up to my room. Ugh, teenagers, I hear her say to herself from the stairwell. That's the 13th one yet. Why are they always like this? She watches me eat. Author unknown. She's been with me for nearly 2 years now, just standing there in the corner of my eye, almost immaterial as she whispers in my ear. Don't eat. Don't eat. Don't eat. I can't make out much of her, just enough to know that she is, and that her hair is so tangled and matted it's impossible to tell how long it is. But I guess it doesn't really matter who she is or how she looks. The point is, she's always there, and I can't seem to get rid of her. If I don't eat the food my stepmother gives me, she's there watching. If I eat my meals, she's there again, harassing me and telling me to stop. It's always, don't eat, don't eat, don't eat. She never says anything else, but she's everywhere. She often follows me to the bathroom. I catch glimpses of her in the mirror while I'm getting dressed and ready for my day. She follows me to school and work, standing about a foot behind me, her breath warming the back of my neck. No one else seems to be able to see her or hear her, though. Not even my family. My sister Leah is 10 and far smarter than I was at her age. She does extremely well in school and seems to be pretty popular from what I can tell. Good for her, I guess. I can't really relate. Early on, when I first started being visited, I tried telling Leah about the presents, but she didn't believe me. She thought I was pulling her leg. All she said was, "Leave me alone, Kelly. I have homework to do." even though the presence was right behind Leah, whispering to her, too. I'm honestly too afraid to tell my dad anything, and my stepmother just brushed me off, as usual. Either way, neither of them seem to be able to see anything. My father usually works long hours and often misses dinner. My stepmother never sits with us at the table. She always sits on her own in the living room, curled up in front of the TV with a bottle of wine. So it's always me, Leah, and her. I've learned to ignore the thing. I eat when I'm hungry and don't eat when I'm not hungry. If everyone else in the house and in my life has it that simple, then I'm not going to allow her to ruin my life. Ignoring her works, for the most part. It doesn't really stop her chance when I'm eating, and it most definitely doesn't make her go away when I'm not. But I feel better at least, more in control. Sometimes she puts things in my food, out of spite, I assume. I've caught her a few times, peeling bits of rotted skin from her bony fingers and letting them fall over my meals. Sometimes it's chunks of her hair. I don't even try eating when this happens. My food goes directly into the bin. My stepmother always nags at me about the wasted food in the trash, and my sister is always lauded as the good daughter for clearing up her plate. But that's not really news to me. My sister has always been better. Over the last few weeks, however, things have gotten weird with Leah. I guess that's really why I'm writing this. Leah stopped joining us at the table for dinner, and from what I overhear of our parents' arguments, her grades have dropped dramatically. Leah just sits in her room, laying still in her bed, and staring at the corners of her ceiling. I tried to talk to her yesterday. I tried to ask her if the presence might be at fault, but Leah just looked at me, her pale face completely expressionless. After only a few seconds, she broke eye contact with me and went right back to looking at the walls. I'm really worried about her, but I'm not so sure what I can do, or if there's even anything I can do. I can't even help myself anymore. I have the same gaunt, tired look on my face as well. All I hear all day long is, don't eat, don't eat, don't eat. I wonder if Leah now hears it, too. I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to the special friends of the channel for your overwhelming generosity. If you would like to support the channel, the link is below in the description. Also, please send me your stories and poems to duchessofdarkness27@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at duchess.ofdarkness and Twitter at duchessofdarkn2. I want to thank all my listeners for your kindness, your encouragement, and your support. It means the world to me. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.